All right, we're going to be doing something called finding the mean absolute value. No, not mean absolute value. Mean absolute deviation. Okay, now when I say the word mean, you should be thinking average. So mean is average. Absolute is how far something is from something else. Can never be a negative number. It's a positive number from one thing to another thing, how much it is. And then deviation is how far things are separated. Okay. So I'm going to go through this one example. It's a little complicated, but we'll go through it. It's 3 steps. And I'm going to give you I'll show you the one here, but I'll give you a little bit different idea how to do it. And we'll see if we can do some of these. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is make this a little bigger. So, it says, the table shows the maximum speeds of 8 roller coasters. Find the mean absolute deviation of the set of data. Describe what the mean absolute deviation represents. Okay, we'll get to what it represents at the bottom. So first of all, we have this set of data. The first thing, we have to find the mean of it. And the way you find the mean is you take all the numbers and you add them all together. So they're all right here. 58 is right there. 88 is right there. 40 is right there. 60 is right there. 72, 66, 80, 48. All right here. So you add all these numbers, and then you divide by the number you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you divide by 8, and you get the mean. The mean equals 64. But we're looking for the mean absolute deviation. So that's step 1, finding the mean. Step 2 is finding the absolute value of the difference between each value and the mean. So I have 58. Now they show you a chart here where you lay them out like this, and then you can see the difference between the mean being right here and between each number. This one's kind of confusing to me. So I'm just going to do, I have 8 numbers. I need to find the difference between the mean and the number. And the way I do it, I start with this number. I have a 58. I need to find the difference between 64 and 58. So 64 minus 58 equals 6. There's 1. Then I go 88 minus 64 equals 24. Okay, then I have 40. 40 and 64, the difference there is 24. And then 60 and 64, the difference there is 4. 72 and 64 equals 8. And now the difference between 66 and 64 is 2. And then the difference between 80 and 64 is 16. And then the difference between 48 and 64 is 16. Okay, so step 2 is just finding the difference between the mean, this mean, and each of the numbers in the data set. Okay. Now what you do is you find the average of these numbers. So the way you find the average is you add them all up. 6 plus 24 plus 24 plus 4 plus 8 plus 2 plus 16 plus 16. And then I have to divide that. If I want the average, I divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that will give me my average. So I add those up. 6 plus 24 plus 24 plus 4 plus 8 plus 2 plus 16 plus 16. That gets me an even 100. And I divide that by 8. Divided by 8. And that gets me 12.5. Now, I wish I would have done that in this green, because the third step is this. Is where you find the average of those numbers. And when I find the average of the differences, it got me 12.5, and we're talking about miles per hour. So the mean absolute deviation is 12.5. And what this means is that the average distance each data value is from the mean is 12.5 miles per hour. Okay? MP, 12 miles per hour. Okay, so you find the mean or the average of all of them. Then you find the difference between each number and the mean. And then you find the average of those numbers. Hope it's not too confusing. Okay, let's try one. Here we are. So we have a table that shows speeds of 10 birds. We need to find the mean absolute deviation of the data. And we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so let's first figure out the mean. And the way you do that is you add all of these numbers up. So I have 88 plus 77 plus 65 plus 70 plus 65 plus 72 plus 95 plus 80. I'm going to run out of space. Plus 106 plus 68. And then when I add all those numbers up, I have to divide by the number I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Divide by 10. So let's do that. Let's find the mean. 88 plus 77 plus 65 plus 70 plus 65 plus 72 plus 95 plus 80 plus 106 plus 68 equals 7,806. Divide that by 10. Divided by 10. It gets me a mean of 78.6. So that's what I got for my mean. And now I need to find the difference between the mean and each of these numbers. So I go like this. This is kind of a lengthy step. It's 88 minus 78.6. That equals 9.4. And I could always start with this number. So if I do 77 minus 78.6, it gets me a negative 1.6, but since we're dealing with absolute value, it's got to be positive, so it's 1.6. Now, let's do the 65. 65 minus 78.6 equals 13.6. Now we have 70 minus 78.6 is going to give me 8.6. Now 65 minus 78.6 equals 13.6. Okay, then 72 minus 78.6 equals 6.6. Now, let's do 95. 95 minus 78.6 equals 16.4. Now 80 minus 78.6 equals 1.4. Now 106 minus 78.6 27.4. This is a lot of computation. 68 minus 78.6 equals 10.6. Okay, so that's the difference between all of these numbers and the mean. Now I have to find the average of all these numbers. The way you find the average is you add them all up, divide by the number you have. I know I'm going to have 10. So once I add all these numbers up, I'll put it above 10, and that will get me my the mean absolute deviation. So let's add them all up. 9.4 plus 1.6 plus 13.6 plus 8.6 plus 13.6 plus 6.6 plus 16.4 plus 1.4 plus 27.4 plus 10.6. And it gets me 109.2. And when I divide that by 10, it gets me 10.92. And that right there is my mean absolute deviation. Okay. So hopefully you're starting to get the 3 steps. Step 1 is to find the mean. Step 2 is to find the difference of each number from the mean. Step 3 is to add all those numbers up and divide by the number you have, which is just finding the average of these numbers, and then you get your answer. Okay. Let's do one more. This one you could practice on your own just to see. There's only 5, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers here. So you could try it on your own, pause the video, and see how you did. Okay? Let's start by finding the mean. The way we find the mean is we add all the numbers up. 112 plus 145 plus 108 plus 160 plus 122. And when you do that, let's see what you get. Oh, and if we want to find the average, we're going to divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 112 plus 145 plus 108 plus 160 plus 122 equals 647 divided by 5. So divide that by 5 gets me 129.4. That is my mean. Okay, that's the first step. Finding the mean of the data set, the average. 129.4. Okay, we're going to round this to the nearest hundredth. We're good on this one. Now, the way we find the next step is we take all of these numbers and find the difference between that and the mean. So I start with the first number in the data set, 112 minus 129.4 equals 17.4. Always positive because we're looking for the absolute value. 145 minus 129.4 equals 15.6. That's 145. Now we have 108. 108 minus 129.4. That gets me 21.4. And then let's do this 160. 160 minus 129.4 equals 30.6. And then we have one more, this 122. 122 minus 129.4 equals 7.4. That's the difference between each value and the mean. Now, we got to find the average of all of these numbers. And the way you do that is you add them all up. 17.4 plus 15.6 plus 21.4 plus 30.6 plus 7.4. And then to get the average, you divide those by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I do that, that gets me my mean absolute deviation. So let's add them up. 17.4 plus 15.6 plus 21.4 plus 30.6 plus 7.4 equals 92.4 divided by 5. When I do that, I get 1848. 1848. And we're talking about number of daily visitors to a website. So that would have to be, this is the guided problem. It would be for visitors. Alrighty. So the mean, or the average absolute deviation is 18.48. And what that means is when you have an average of 120. I'm going to average these, or I'm going to round them. So let's say 129. Let's say that's 130 visitors a day. That's about the average. Now, this 1848, and let's just round that to be 18, is how far it goes up or down. The average, it's either going to be plus or minus about 18. It might actually be 130 sometimes, but it's going to be 130, maybe plus 18, so it might be 148 sometimes. It might be minus 18. That's about the average. The average of the visitors is it's going to be anywhere either plus or minus 18 to this 130. But the 130 is the overall average. And then to find the mean absolute deviation is you find this number here, and it's plus or minus to the average. Okay, a little confusing. This is part one of two parts. So we're going to try this today, and then we'll do more of it tomorrow. So I'm going to give you two problems to try on your own. Independent practice, problem 1 and 2. So first step is you find the mean. Second step is you find the difference between each number and the mean. Third step is you average those differences. And once you do that, you get your mean absolute deviation. All right, let me know if you have any questions.